Welcome to Facts and Fire Podcast. It's your favorite fire starter, Afeni. We have a very special episode today. We have Josana and Joella. I'm really excited to have this conversation. I usually do a Black History highlight, but I did not have one this week, unfortunately, y'all. This week's been a little hectic, so my bad. But we do have two super fire ladies that are going to talk to us about the racist and just unjust immigration system that we have here in America, and just revolutionary ways and imagination about how to dismantle it. Period. But yeah, so first of all, I'm really glad to have y'all here. And I would guess that we should start with which countries one of you come from, and like what your path here has been in America, how the experience has been. But whoever wants to go first, because I'm not picky.
Do you have to unmute? Can you hear me?
Yeah, girl.
Oh, okay. Period. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful. This is not our first time working together. I'm very much a fan of the show. Also, I do have a Black History month fact, not month, but Black History fact. Haiti is actually the first country to emancipate themselves from slavery. This is a Black nation that has been under attack ever since doing so, has been in debt ever since doing so. But they are the precedent of freedom, period. My name is Joella Roberts. I am originally from Trinidad and Tobago. I was born in Trinidad. I came to the United States when I was 4 years old on a travel visa. Unfortunately, when my mother applied for citizenship, I aged out of her application because the process to citizenship in this country is so many years. I was fortunate enough to get DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival, in 2015, which gave me a social security number, which made me able to work, drive, do some things that my friends have been doing so many years before me simply because of a number. And so I've always been someone who has been tried to be righteous. And so I always fight for what's right, whether that's for Black people, for immigrants, for people who are for humanity. It is more than us. And so that's what I believe. And I'm still undocumented. Somebody called me illegal like just 2 days ago on Clubhouse. Still here though, and to stay. So that's what we're fighting for, and I'm grateful to be here.
Hi, my name is Josana. I am from Brazil. I came to the US in 2013. I applied for a working visa. Unfortunately, the lawyer that was working with me was not an honest person, so he tricked me into overstaying my visa. I spent 5 years as an undocumented immigrant, an illegal person, as people like to say. No one is illegal. No one is illegal. No human is illegal. I now have a green card since 2019. I have a green card, but I am an activist, and I am hopefully adding in the fight against this immigration system from the US that is more like a jail system made to oppress people that are Black and brown and allow in white people from Europe.
Ooh, I hate that. Absolutely. Thank you guys both so much. Especially like the reason why I think our conversation is so well timed. Not only has this year been very wild on the immigration front, and the Democratic Party and just the liberals, they have completely ignored the fact that Biden has carried out most of Trump's policies and also exacerbated some of them as well, and escalated the tactics in which they're using to engage with the undocumented people, or the people that are seeking asylum in this country. And as you know, like Joe Biden was the vice president of the deporter-in-chief, Barack Obama. So of course they're gonna be real quiet, real silent about his involvement in the inhumane treatment of undocumented people and of people that are just trying to seek some refuge in the richest country in the world. So I'll just throw this question out to the floor. Right now, we're seeing all of this happening with the Haitian immigrants that are trying to seek asylum at the border.
Fini, you are frozen.
They
For me as well.
Am I back?
Back now.
What y'all hear last?
You were gonna throw a question to the floor.
Oh, that's all. That's the last part y'all heard. Okay. All right. So I was just basically saying that all the disaster and everything, the disaster that we're seeing at the border right now with the Haitian immigrants that are currently trying to come here and seek asylum because their president has been assassinated this year. They've gone through yet another earthquake after not being fully rebuilt after the last one. And they were already a pretty impoverished nation before either one of these earthquakes. So the effects of what we're seeing now have been long-standing. It has been a long-standing cycle of violence and of disruption in their country. So, you know, like, are y'all like, how do y'all feel? Like,
Can I just give some context in how the immigration system works in that case of asylum? I have a friend that they volunteered at the border, and they gave me some information. So to seek asylum in the US, you have to come walking, right? You have to walk. And then you're gonna go in a line, and the line will take like 3 to 10 or more hours. So you are in this line, you came walking, which is what the law asks of you to do, so you can ask for asylum. Once you get to the border, to the actual part of the border that you speak to an agent, you will be arrested no matter what. You will be arrested. There is no person that goes through the border without being arrested or wearing a ankle bracelet. So, because if you were liberated, which is very rare if you don't pass through the detention center, you will have to wear an ankle bracelet and meet somebody in America that you have a phone number and they will take care of you. But that ankle bracelet is to control, because you're going to give the whereabouts and you cannot work. So you cannot leave the whereabouts, and you have to wait in a court date. This is like also the border with Canada as well. And you have to wait on a court date that takes forever. So they don't care how you're going to generate funds to eat or live. The children are so depressed. Most of them in the southern border by themselves with a phone number that is engraved in their little coats. Usually that phone number belongs to an undocumented immigrant that won't go to the detention center to pick up the child because they are deciding on like being deported as well. And the child will be detained and stay there until they are 18 years old. And then they're going to go through the court process. So that child will grow up in a jail. And not fun thing, I'm just trying to be sarcastic, but I'm not going to even go there. One thing that happens is like they are migrating and they are passing through violence. They are they are flying from violence, right, in their own countries, and they are coming. And the process of coming through the border is extremely violent and dangerous. So you getting here alive is already a miracle. But when you get there and in the line, the agents start shouting, "Do you think that the worst is in your back? It's just starting." So the process of the torture, the psychological torture, besides the physical that they already faced, starts there. They have something that's called heladeras, which is translates as refrigerators, which is a room that has it's below 32, which I think it's 0 in Fahrenheit. Sorry, I didn't even worry about learning Fahrenheit in my life. And then they put the people there for nothing. Not like you did something. They just put the people there. People that are coming from tropical countries with hot weather, They will put them there with no winter clothes and let them freeze. They will freeze these people just for the sake of fear, just for the sake of showing how the US is going to treat you as an immigrant that's seeking asylum. The children are extremely sad. They don't know how to play anymore. And one of the things that they do to separate the child from their parents is to say, oh, you got here, you're really tired. Your child is dirty right now. Let me give them a shower. You're going to go take a shower. And they trust because they are in fear. So they trust that, oh, I got here. So once they have the child, they separate the child from the mother. And some detentions, but most of them, they separate. And that's history. We know already what's happening. Children disappearing in the system because they have no documentation. They don't know how to play. They suffer a lot of psychological pressure, torture, and also physical torture, because I'm reading from the interview I did with this friend, because there is no supervisor. Not because of that, because police has captains and whatever positions, they still kill us every day. Not like that it's going to stop them, but sometimes we can get them accountable. But in these detention centers for immigration, there is no supervisor. So the agents can do whatever they have in their mind. So there's no control over it. The place is stinky. It's dirty. It's subhuman conditions. They don't have enough food. So when they pass through that, they can go to a church basement, or they call a place church. This place is extremely secret, because on top of everything, when you pass through that torture, you go to the church, they suffer bomb threats from white supremacists. So the place, if you want to reach the place, you have to call somebody, meet this person somewhere, wait for a text, follow someone without people knowing that you're following them. So it's a very secret place to go. And there they get the right of one phone call, a hot meal, and a 5-minute shower. Because when you are in subhuman conditions, this will look like a 5-star hotel, right? And it's a total violation of human rights, right? And the funny thing to point is that this friend was passing over the bridge in the Texan border, and they could hear the agents shouting, see a line of people, and they heard chains, loud sound of chains. And they have a bit of PTSD from this time that they were volunteering there, because it's like they are also Latinx. And that's just like, it's very, and there's also like indigenous people that don't speak English, that don't speak any Spanish. They're just there and they can't communicate. So these are the beauties of seeking asylum in the US, and the fact that there is a friend of this friend is an Iranian immigrant that he migrated through the Canadian border, same process. He says that he is a PhD, because also there's another thing. When you migrate, it doesn't matter if, like me, if you flew over, if you came through the border, your identity is erased. So it doesn't matter if you're a PhD, if you're a chef, you're going down, you're going low. And this guy says that he, as a PhD, thought he could himself defend himself in the court case, right? Waiting for his court case. Then he realized that the only way he could be able to migrate and get a work permit and be here legally was if he, I want to read in his own words, was if he showed that he had no value. He had no value. So from that, we can understand why freaking cops are whipping brothers and sisters in the border.
I don't want to cut you off. First of all, I'm taking notes, like I'm writing, I'm scribbling, because what you're touching on is so powerful and sorrowful, and it's put in place by people who have taken office before previously, and people who are no longer in office, and their legislation is still being worked. And you talk about, people at the border and this experience. Imagine going through this experience just to be deported, or as Title 42 refers to it as, expelled. Because to be deported, you have to be accepted into this country. And they're saying that people at the border technically aren't even accepted into our land. So what we're going to do is expel them. So you have over 600,000 people deported under the Biden administration so far. He's only been in office for 9 months. He's already beat his buddy Obama in his first year already. And you look at it and say, this is a policy enacted by President Trump, but we know that if you look at the ICE budget, which Joe Biden has already beat every president before, when you look at the CBP's budget, when you look at the police budget, when you look at all the budgets of enactors of legislation and defenders of law, it's always on an incline. It doesn't matter what party line. And so we were bamboozled. When I say we, I mean immigrants, because I migrated here. I did not have that experience. I had a travel visa. That does not make me better. It's unfortunate that this is the predicament simply because of paperwork. Literally a card, a visa, approval, a choice by someone sitting in a console that says, today, I'll let you go. But tomorrow, someone who doesn't speak as much English, or someone who doesn't speak English at all, doesn't get through. And it's really unfortunate because we had the Remain in Mexico policy, which was also one of like 100,000 things that Trump did. Very efficient dictator was he. MPP, also known as Remain in Mexico policy, made it so that immigrants had to stay in Mexico while they were seeking asylum. And can you imagine coming from Haiti, speaking Haitian Creole, speaking French, speaking whatever language that you speak, and having to go to another country to navigate an entire immigration system? Get a lawyer. Who has money for a lawyer? You literally made it with the clothes on your back. You don't have any documents. They're going to ask you, where's your birth certificate? Where's your ID? Where's all of these things that you don't have? So the entire process was rigged from the beginning, and they know that. They know that. So what they're going to do is excuse it by saying, well, we have to lock them up, because we don't know who they are. We have to lock them up because we separated nieces from nephews and grandchildren from grandmothers. We have to lock them up because they didn't have any money. We have to lock them up because they're Black and they're poor. And it's really unfortunate that it took like the horrific pictures that we saw go viral for people to understand what I've been talking about for months. I'm telling you, when Joe Biden became president, I said, it's a flight today. There's a flight tomorrow. There's a flight the week after that, and no one cared. And this is the perils of the immigration system if we are to widen the lens of being anti-Black. And when we look at the statistics of people in detention centers, knowing that 42% of families are actually from Haiti, one Black nation alone, and this is not something that is magnified, you question why. Why? Because the ICE, CBP, they're just a replica of police. We look at all of these bills that are enacted and knowing that these are not separate systems. We refer to it as crimmigration, but it's absolutely the same as the American carceral system. And immigrants are not just held in detention centers. We are held in jails and prisons. We are in Guantanamo Bay, a United States prison on Cuban land. You have a detention center for immigrants. And so when you know that our lives are not valued, and we're just viewed for our bodies, they can pack us in facilities like cold, like cattle with literally chili. We have the same thing of what's going on at the border in ICA Farmville. ICA Farmville is a detention center in Virginia. And they complain about the same thing. It's freezing. Why do they treat you like that? Why don't you think that you would treat people who literally probably are experiencing PTSD with care? Why wouldn't you increase a health budget? But no, you increase ICE in CBP's budget, police budgets. And it's really because they don't care. And if you aren't viewed to the metric of like, oh, I came here on a visa for education, which is what is really prized in this moment. Even myself being a DACA recipient, knowing the respectability politics of being an immigrant, the fact that my accent is not as thick as my mother's put me in rooms that I will never be, is why asylum seekers and those who seek refuge in this country are the most vulnerable population in this country. Because not only are they thrown to the side, we don't even know what's going on. We don't have the camera footage from what you're talking about in the detention centers. We don't have the communications. And they know that. And so it's conversations like this that I'm grateful for, and conversations that you're facilitating on the side of bold people who are not just stepping foot there, but speaking out. And I think that's what's going to like bring the change that we seek soon now.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of talk about like the immigration reform bill, and I'm sure that both of you know that it does not go far enough by any stretch of the imagination to not only address the anti-Blackness, but just address the inequity of the system and what it's supposed to be ultimately based upon. Because you can see lots of rich white immigrants coming from the Scandinavian countries. They're here. And it's crazy. They talk all this mess about family migration, but the former president, his wife, brought her parents over. So it works for them when they need to get their people over, when they want to get people into this country that they feel are suitable to be in this country, they will promote that. But when it comes down to it, it's Black and Indigenous people that are escaping the persecution and the disruption of governments that we caused. When you see people fleeing, some of these Central American countries, Guatemala, who disrupted Guatemala's country? Who disrupted their government? Who armed the guerrilla squads and the militias and trained them to terrorize their citizens? Who did that? We did. And then when people come to this country, the source of really all of their sorrow, when you really think about it, they come to this country to try to find some type of safety because they're told and have been told for all these years, this is the place to come to. They're treated like animals, or people are permitted to come in and they're paid way less. They're treated so inhumanely, and as soon as the government or whoever doesn't feel the need to have these people around, they get them deported. They kick them out. Like, there are so many veterans also who served this country specifically to get citizenship and still got deported. So it's just, you clearly, whatever immigration policy that Democrats say they have, whatever immigration policy liberals say that they support, they don't actually support that shit. There's no material evidence that they support that shit, because there should be resist hashtags trending on Twitter right now, because that's what they're doing during Trump. Remember that? Hashtag resist. Please fight back. Please fight back. The kids, think about the children. What about the children now? What about the children now? We were watching Haitian babies get whipped on their backs. We saw photos of them getting whipped on their backs. Biden called it cracked or some stupid shit. No, they were whipping people. Call it what it is. Like they were some damn slave masters. Like this is the scene that we're seeing at our border. But liberals aren't. Where's the outrage? Where's the hashtags? These are children. Where's it at? I'm tired of the hypocrisy. I really am. And this is the reason why, for me, like, dismantling the system is so vital. Like, dismantling this government and everything that it's built upon is so vital, because we are not going to see equity through a white supremacist government that never wanted us to be here. But I'm going to shut my ass up now. Y'all can go ahead.
If I start crying like a baby, just go ahead, Joella, and cut me, okay? Because since that dress on the Met Gala, while my brothers and sisters across the street were being beaten up by the police, I'm a mess. I'm trying to keep on fighting, but I'm an emotional mess. It's just that, like, you can see this person also said that you can see the race dynamics playing in the jail, in the cages. So you see Black brothers and sisters being isolated because they are Black, because we know that plays out, right? White Haitian people cannot be in Mexico. They are in the between because Mexico don't want to accept them. And so the anti-Blackness that white supremacy spreads throughout the whole continent of America is it plays itself. It plays itself when I want to be the oppressor, and I want to be like the oppressor, because that's what it works in a class-wise. Because once you cross the borderline, racism becomes classism, right? So by destroying the whole continent, the Central America and South America, US keeps the control so we don't unite to fight. They call us Latinos, they erase our Blackness, and we have no strength to fight. And we are the ones, like, the reason why Bolsonaro, the pig, I have no words to describe that shadow, that the reason why that man is the president of Brazil is the USA, because Dilma, which was the president of Brazil by the time, when Snowden came out and said that Obama was spying, she was like, well, I have a trip to the US. We're going to discuss petroleum, because they just found the pre-sal, which is an unlimited source of oil. I'm not going to come if Obama doesn't come out and excuse himself. And there was the Secretary of Press that came up. She was trying to challenge the President of the United States. She will get what she deserves. A week later, a coup d'etat started in Brazil. So nowadays, who has the royalties to explore the petroleum in Brazil is the freaking USA. It's not only with wars. They come for us in many, many ways. They put a gangster because Bolsonaro is an assassin. His family killed Marielle Franco, a Black Brazilian congresswoman from the hood that was fighting against the gangsterness in Rio de Janeiro that is spread for the nation. So that's the person that the US found okay to be the president of a country that was once the fifth economy of the world, that had once ended hunger, that took families out of the worldly poverty line. So this country is destroying us every day, and they don't want us to come back here and get back what belongs to us.
Exactly. I think that what you're describing for Brazil is a complete replica of what happened to Haiti. Because if we widen the lens, and I know a lot of your viewers and listeners are probably, looking at this from a political understanding, but first and foremost, before the policy is based on people. And so let's look at the people. Brazil is a Black nation as well as Haiti. And you look at political control by the United States as well as Haiti. You just saw the assassination of a Haitian president who overstayed his stay. And who backed him staying? The United States. The United States has been funneling money to keep dictators or just leaders that they favor in a lot of countries. And when the people of that country stand up and say, hey, no, if we claim that this is a democracy and we claim that the people make choice, then what's going on? What does the United States do? They fund rebels and gangs and all those kind of people, and they drop weapons so that there could be a civil war. And there could be a civil war that would distract the people from who are really the enactors of violence, which would be the United States. And so what they do is fund, that's why the largest budget is the military, because, you know, we got to keep the international control of people. And then when you look at the second budget, it's police. And when you look at the largest police budget, it's ICE. And so immigrants are in bondage at home and when we come to this country. And there is an understanding of power, of resilience, because when you look at the history of Brazil and you look at the history of Haiti, we have always been triumphant. And so why do you spend so much money? Because we are so hard, because we are so amazing. And you have to continue to put the chains back on. But when you literally hear shackles, I mean, those pictures, I know you wanted the understanding to be, you know, in people's brain, but for some people, seeing those pictures on their timeline is traumatic. It literally brings up so many disgusting emotions, because it's not just a matter of clickbait and it's not just a matter of viral. This is literally people. It could have been me, could be like a lot of the mindset. And when you said like, you've been in an emotional scramble, thank you for being honest. Like literally, it's not an easy job, and it's not an easy conversation. It's not an easy understanding. But the more people who do the research of learning what are, you know, the guidelines of applying for asylum, and then for the Haitian immigrants who do make it in this country, how do you apply for TPS? How long did you have to be in the country to apply for TPS? How many undocumented people are in the United States? Like all of these things are important and intertwined. But then I also don't even want to push legality, like, oh, legalize those people, give them their legal documents to make us respectable, to give us our basic human rights, to give us access to food and water, the ability to work in whatever passion we want, a document. Like, I'm also like not indoctrinated into assimilation. I'm not trying to be nationalist. Like it should be okay to preserve who you are and come to this country and be accepted, and your bondage and your trauma and your poverty and all of that be welcomed, because America claimed to get the weary. They claim to get the poor. So why, when I come to the border, if I don't have some money on the side, or I don't have the know-how, I'm not successful? It's just bigger and deeper than what's going on. And I don't want us to like minimize it to a hey, this is the system. Like the immigration as a system has always been this. And the United States as a country has always been this to Black people globally. So don't be surprised.
Yeah, citizenship was only created in this country to exclude Black people. Like whatever they could do to exclude Black folks is what they was gonna do. So this was a country founded on immigrants that was really just running around. Like it's very possible for none of us to be on legal documentation. Like this is a fairly new concept, actually. So, you know, to sit up here and pretend like, you know, these things that were done by just a couple words on a paper and some white man's signature, they can be undone the same exact way. And we need to have a real conversation about what it looks like to return the land of the stolen land of people back to those people. So, you know, y'all have to give some shit the fuck up anyway. So where your border's going to be at anyway? Where it's going to be at? Because we're dismantling America. We don't even want, we don't want to be a part of this shit. I don't want to be a part of this shit. And I have citizenship. What the fuck? We're not looking to all be as one, kumbaya. Like that's not what I want. I want to dismantle the American system. I want to dismantle the American empire, and I want a smaller America. Period.
Yes. I looked at citizenship through the lens of Stockholm syndrome, through the lens of necessity, of I've been deprived from something and they tell me I need it to survive, but I know that there are United States citizens who are being murdered in the same ways as immigrants. There are United States citizens being treated inhumanely that live here in the land, on the land. It doesn't matter. And so the ideas of safety that this government feeds us, which is citizenship, which is financial stability, which is all these things, when you're Black, it means nothing. And that's what people actually need to understand. Like, Classism is a derivative of racism. It just is a derivative of imperial. Like all of these things are the same. And you are not like, just because you took a specific course or had a specific education and you feel like, oh, I'm, like in the immigrant community, you will have, I have it, like really, really arguing with my auntie who came to America just like me, but is a Trump supporter. And she's just like, you got to do it the right way. And I'm like, you're literally talking to me, who's been in this country for 20 years, trying to do it the right way and was unsuccessful. So for those who are literally just like, take me as I am at the border, you lock them up in change, you starve them. It's like, what? Really take a look at who you are as a country. Because you claim to be a big brother, you claim to be, a helping hand, but the people who ask for your help, this is how you treat them. And when you look at the statistics, Jordan, there are other countries who are actually taking in people from refuge, like from the wars that the United States and all their powers are causing. So we're not even the system of refuge that we hype ourselves up to be. We're just literally probably the closest for that immigrant, or we feed into the American dream, which is actually an American nightmare once you get here. And so we need to like rid the concept and idea of who we are and really read the books and really check history and really see what's going on right now and try to undo that. Because I also don't believe that you should be ashamed of where you're from. I love Trinidad. You see my flag, period. I love Trinidad and Tobago. You as an American, someone who identifies as American, you should be able to say, I love my country, and to not be ashamed of it. Nobody is perfect. No country is perfect. But if you are to like finally love the place that you are born to, indigenous to, I believe that you are indigenous to this land. You are indigenous people. You should be proud of that. Like your government shouldn't be so disgraceful that you're ready to just like flight. That's what we did. That's what we had to do. Like, let's stop the system and need for migration. Let's start there. Like, let's stop the need for migration, the root of migration. And that is when we really can have like actual real conversations.
I just wanted to also make a point that just to bring to this crisis with Haitians, no one that's walking to the border to be able to seek asylum is coming for American dream. And to be honest, most of us from outside of here don't believe that BS unless we are white passing. I say white passing, but I want to start saying white people because there are white people Central and South America, and they have a white experience. And here they're like, oh, I'm a person of color. Oh, really, Karen? You were not when I met you down there, and you called me a monkey. So I just want to separate because like they are racist, they are white, they have a white experience. And of course, the US gives them the advantage of being called person of color. So they take advantage of the programs and everything, because those are the one in Hollywood. Those are the Latinx women. I've never seen a Black Latina woman represented by this freaking industry of slender, right? Never. And people genuinely in the US don't know. Oh, but you're not Latina, but you're not Black, you're Latina. See what it's doing to our heads? So it separates us, because Malcolm X said, if Negroes from America united with Negroes from Central and South, especially Brazil, because yes, we have 78% of the population, the biggest African population outside Africa. So if we united, these people will be speaking low with us. They would say, excuse me, can I talk? They're not going to be supremacists because we're going to be stronger, way stronger, right? And to that point of the need to migrate, I think migrating is a biological nature of the human being, because when we were in caves, that's what we did. We were eating there. We had, and then we're like, oh, now we need to go because it's scarce. And we would even give that land the ability to regenerate, because we would leave. We would not suck the life out of it and even more, right? What we're doing now is inhumane. So I'm for like enough of borders. The system that we know so far doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, it's working as it's supposed to work, right? The first thought you have when you're immigrant, oh, it's working as it's supposed to work. It's made to exclude me. So I will have PTSD from when I was undocumented. And whenever I see car, I will shock because, and then, okay, I can pay tax. I remember that. Yeah. And the funny thing is, like, you spent, like, in my case, 5 years. I know it's nothing because I know people that are 25 years here without documentation. So I'm not saying that my story, I'm just talking through experience. You spend 5 years here as an undocumented person. You can't leave the country. You get a work permit. You can't leave the country. 1 more year, 6. Then you finally get the green card, and then you can go out of the country. 6 months only. When it's 5 months, you start getting phone calls and threatening to take away your green card. So you spend all that time fighting for it, as Joella said, like, you receive something that's not satisfactory, that's not giving you any freedom, but you think that you need that thing. You need that thing because people are like, what are you doing here if you don't like it? Well, I fought a lot to be here, and it's been stuck in my country for so long. So I'm going to stay here and fight with my brothers and sisters to change this reality, to dismantle this empire, and to therefore balance the world, right? And it's funny that the only way you can get the freedom, because I do not believe that American citizens have freedom, is if you have the so-called passport, the citizenship. But there's no freedom, because what I learned before as an activist outside of this country, I would be like, death to America. It doesn't matter because you've been punched in the face every day by this country. But then when I moved in here and I met my people, something came to mind. This country is not only a bully to the whole world, is it to its own people, to its own citizens. So it propagandized the citizens, it propagandized their heads. Education is it's extremely expensive, almost unachievable. You start your life in debt. Your adult life is started in huge amount of debt. But you also not pushed to have critical thinking, right? So you don't have critical thinking, and you start like, oh, but I like my freedom. And you're like, what is your freedom? You work like your ancestors, if you were Black, worked as slaves. And if you were white, you're working like a slave, like you were a slave. You pay taxes, you pay, work, pay. And what's your freedom? To start a mortgage that you're going to die before you're able to pay off? To buy Jordan Nikes for $2,000 so you can wear it in the hood? So the concept of freedom, American freedom, is like, to me, sounds more like hamster wheel. But who am I to say anything?
It's absolutely a setup. And I'm glad that you understand that. Like, you don't even live to see your retirement because you're stressed because you're working 3 jobs to buy the house that you don't even live in because you work too many hours to sleep. And that is the American experience of those who are aspiring to be Jeff Bezos, but actually closer to houselessness. And that is exactly what immigrants experience, but exacerbated because you don't even have work authorization. They don't even give you the documents to get a minimum wage job. So you're being paid under the table or not at all and taking on jobs where they don't even let you use the toilet because they look at you as subhuman. And so I think that it's really awesome that we pivoted a little bit to what it is to be an immigrant in this country, because even if you are letting in folks through asylum and refuge, and they do get a couple checks from the government, what is that experience of living poor? What is that experience of coming from nothing and being taken from taxes, theft? Because the fact that I pay Medicaid and Medicare, but I could never receive those benefits because I don't have a social security number. So I'm literally funding your grandmother, her experiencing a great life in this country. But when I'm aged, I wouldn't have enough points. It's sick. And I don't think that we should normalize. I said on Twitter, I was like, abolish social security numbers, period. But it's really the entire system of wages, of like, what do we value? Because even in the immigrant community, And what we talk about now, it was like, thank you, essential workers, was the campaign we were pushing to get legalization. So you're telling me that documents is really what, like, is based on the labor that I provide for this country. Farm workers, most of which who are undocumented, they said, oh, okay, thank you for feeding us during a pandemic. Maybe we'll give you the paperwork to allow, health insurance, because you claim to care about a pandemic and you claim to care about health in this moment, but you have to have a job to get health insurance, to pay health insurance, because health insurance is not free. So those laborers that you care so much about are disposable. Like, let's be real. And I've experienced like what it is to see like my mother get paid $35 to clean a 3-story house, like, and to go every weekend and know that like that is literally paying a bill. Like, you have to do it. And it's like, dang, just because she doesn't have a number. I recently signed the lease for my apartment, and I sat next to my mother who could not do the same because she did not have a social security number. So when we turn to illegal jobs, working under the table, we again can succumb. You know what I'm saying? Your employer could call the police. You still get deported. You got your house cleaned and fixed, and you deported somebody. Like, this is literally the predicament of immigrants. And so it's like, what are you feeding people into? What are the Haitian people at the border being invited to? What is the runway? It's literally cages and bars. And I'd like to say it's the same once you get in. And it's a little bit invisible because, I can walk down the street. I could go to the bar and distract myself. I could hang with my friends and we could talk about our struggle. But in reality, we're in bondage. And who is this government to say where I can and can't place my body? Literally a piece of paperwork. I haven't seen my brother in 20 years. I have not seen my brother in 20 years because I'm undocumented. I have not seen my great grandmother in 20 years because I'm undocumented. But you're telling me planes leave BWI every day? That's sick. Like, that's sick. And when we look at that psychological warfare, physical warfare, all the things that it takes to be an immigrant in this country, or try to be an immigrant in this country, it's not good, nor is it worth it. So I think we should change things. Like, 5 years is entirely too long, but my 20 years is worse. But someone's 25 years, like, are you kidding me? That's not good. Because imagine me going to work for 25 years and my only job is to file someone's name in a book or something, whatever the hell they have to do to give us our citizenship. Because it ain't even papers no more. It's digital. We ain't had our papers in so long. It ain't even papers no more. So you put my name in a book because you have my fingerprints because I have DACA. What's taking so long? If I were to go to work for 10 months or 25 years and not do what I said I would do, wouldn't I get fired? So who do we need to fire? Like, who do we need to get rid of? Because what you're doing is not working and it's not acceptable.
It's funny because I think I'm just gonna pass back to you. Sorry. I had an employer, a Brazilian woman here in New York. I'm just gonna save the names and stuff because it's not worthy. I was undocumented and I needed a job because, need to eat. And this person was employing, oh, it's okay, you can work here just for the tips, like for the gratuity. You don't need a social security. So that was my first job. But then I found an I-18, and then even if you don't have a social security, you're gonna have a check, and the paycheck, your taxes will be taken off and so you will be paying taxes. Every single immigrant that is working is paying taxes. The difference is they don't get a tax return. That's the only difference. And I can guarantee you, people that make 20K a year, they don't have to pay more taxes by the end of the year. No. 20K is the poverty line. So don't even get me started in saying that immigrants are not paying taxes. I don't even. This woman, she generously gave me the work, and she would make me work 17-hour shift without receiving $1. So there were days that I paid to go to work because nobody came into the restaurant, right? And it was always like this. On a Thursday, I would start 11 a.m., finish at 12. And then on a Friday, 6 until 4 a.m. on Saturday. Saturday 11 a.m. until 5 a.m. Sunday 11 a.m. until midnight. I had no strength to exist. Best to you, Fanny.
So I just want everybody to know that undocumented people provide 21 billion undocumented dollars to the economy every year. So if if they're undocumented, that means their money should be undocumented too. Give them all their dollars because they're probably making way less than they legally should be anyway. So since that money is so insignificant to you, then don't keep it. Give it back. Give it back. Because I promise you, if every immigrant in this country just stopped working, this whole economy would shut down. If their labor, because that's just $21 billion. That's liquidity. Their labor, that's priceless. We can't even start to quantify the addition that immigrants bring to this economy and to this country, to the global economy. So if undocumented immigrants were in these fields picking this produce, picking these avocados, doing all this work that all these hard up Americans, for some reason y'all can't do that stuff though. But immigrants are lazy. Interesting. Very interesting. Like they sell the dream of American exceptionalism and saying that America is the greatest, biggest, baddest country in the world. America is a third world country. And the ways in which we treat the people that are most marginalized in our country that is a significant marker of where our country is and what our country actually is. Mm-hmm. So until we can find some humanity, I don't want immigrants paying taxes. No. I don't even want Black people paying taxes. No, fuck that. Until I actually get something out of this labor and this fucking effort that I'm putting into this shit, do not take my money. Do not take my money. Because unfortunately, because I have to survive, because immigrants have to survive, they have families, they have children, they're trying to send money back home, everything else. I'm second gen, so we're still sending money back to our cousins over down there.
Union.
You know what I'm saying? There's a purpose most of the time for their money. So we already have to give you our labor because we have to survive in this country. Do not take don't take your taxes out either if I can't get any fucking benefit from it. Fuck that. They just spent y'all undocumented tax dollars giving billions of dollars to Israel again. Again.
Exactly.
No.
And I think that it's important that you
sorry.
Oh, it's okay. No, I was just saying it's important that you highlighted taxes is theft. You're actually stealing my money to fund something that it literally over $148 billion has been giving so far to oppressed Palestinian people. And it's we don't have a choice in our money. We are, told that it's for public assistance, it's for welfare, it's for all of these things. And so what do they do? It's for, what's it called? Disability checks and all those things. So what do they do in the immigration system? They have public charge. So if you're, disabled or you need assistance, you literally cannot get your green card. Or you don't get benefits. And if you do get benefits, you can't apply for your citizenship. And it's also how we look at immigrants as a stature in our countries of origin, meaning we literally upkeep entire economies of certain countries because we send back so much money. Why aren't we viewed as that pinnacle in the American economic system? And then also, more power, because my mother she done did every damn job you could think of when you think about immigrants. But I also don't want us to think oh, immigrants are the ones who clean your house and pick your food and you need them because of that. We are people. And our jobs or how much money we contributed to this country should not be the determinant of how we're treated. And if our basic human rights and basic human needs are met, no. So the whole oh, they give us money though, we need them because their economy, that's sick too. What is money? But I hear y'all.
I wanted to like get on what you said, Joella, because there was the president of Uruguay, Pepe Mujica. He was being interviewed by a white journalist. And the journalist was like, but whatever, what if I want to buy a car? I cannot want to have nice stuff. And he said, because he's a socialist, a communist to be more exact. He said, no, it's okay. It's okay for you to buy nice stuff. I'm not saying you cannot buy nice stuff. I just want you to be aware that to buy nice stuff, you're not paying that with money. You are paying with your biological time of life. You are working, you're getting sick, you're working many, many hours to buy that shiny thing. You have to be aware that what you're spending there is not money, it's your life, it's your biological time of life. And they break us psychologically. They break us psychologically so we can accept everything they impose over us, right? Farm workers that are getting paid $2 an hour the most are people that are psychologically broken by this system that works so well for the white supremacy. I remember that one day, like very depressed, I was like, I need to pay someone to come and clean the house because I have no strength. And then I saw, and then of course I had the thought, and an ad came up on my phone, and they were saying like, there is a promotion if you get somebody to clean your house for 6 hours, it's gonna cost. It was some absurd, for like 6 hours would be like $35 or less. And I was like, dude, I have to touch my conscience, but like, no, I can never do that to another human being. I am supporting right there with that app, the slavery of people like me. And the taxation system is taking money out of Black and brown people and killing our own in the other side of the ocean. So we are taking part in all the killing of our own. So we are assassins with this country if we do not wake up, if we do not take to the streets. Because the time is now. We have no more time. We have no like, oh, we're going to sit and read this theory together and going to like do a book club. Dude, no. We need to take to the streets and not be I'm going to say a very hard word for me in English, anesthetized by the fact that a liberal president took power. Because I remember every single day here in my window in this noisy avenue, Black Lives Matter protest. Biden won. It's gone. And I've never seen ever one single protest because there are concentration camps in American soil. I've never seen. I've observed that the oppressor plays a very, very different game here. The oppressor is teaching its own people, Americans or people from the US, like we say in my country, don't call you all Americans, we call you people from the US. It's hard to say that in English. It's teaching you all to be xenophobian. So it separates more. So, and it's in the core to be imperialist when you are from a place like this. So if our brothers and sisters from up north do not see that, if they don't wake up to that fact that I too am indoctrinated in imperialism and xenophobia, we can't change anything. But we will if we wake up.
Yeah. I have one more question for y'all, and I just really thought about it because I am very interested to hear y'all's perspective. And it is definitely like it's a subject change. But, you know, I am always having different conversations about reparations and what that could look like. You know, as a Black person, we're all descendants of African slaves. You know that, especially, you know, you're from a Caribbean country. I'm sure Africans were brought to Trinidad. You're from Brazil. You know that was one of the largest, if not the largest, slave trading like port on the West. So, how do y'all feel about the American descendants of slaves, the African American descendants of slaves that say that we should not worry about, undocumented Black people. We should not worry about Black people from other countries unless your lineage can be traced back here. You should not be a beneficiary of reparations. And before y'all answer the question, I just want to give a little bit of context of about the mid-Atlantic slave trade and the African diaspora. As we all know, the diaspora was messy, and a lot of enslaved Africans, a lot of enslaved Africans got shipped up and down all these coasts. So, they were basically breeding us like animals. So they would have an enslaved man have sex with women up here, make him have children. They would take that same enslaved man down to the Caribbean. They would take that same enslaved man to Haiti if they need to. Like, the families can move. Their slaves can get traded around. Their enslaved Africans were getting traded around. So who are these people to say that all Black people in this world do not deserve some form of reparations because of the trauma that's befallen all of us from not only America, but all of these colonial ass, white supremacist ass countries, such as Belgium, Paris, Portugal, Spain, the UK. They got to run their pockets, honey. France got to run their pockets, honey. Open it up. Okay. Get it together. I don't understand why we're not all having that conversation, but I just wanted to, because both of y'all are, Afro women that are from here, I just want to know how the hell y'all feel about that, because that shit really pisses me off and grinds my gears. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, thank you for answering your own question, really getting into it, and then the perspective of the diaspora, depending on potato. But it's really important that we understand that, yes, you do deserve reparations. Yes, this government owes you, and not just for slavery, but for Jim Crow, but for the lynching. They owe you for some wages,
Police brutality.
They owe you for
discrimination, environmental racism.
It's the last
redlining.
Yesterday, they owe you big time. But when we talk about reparations, it's absolutely a global conversation. And we open a conversation with Haiti. The fact that Haitian people, when they emancipated themselves, France told them, well, you have to pay me for yourself. You have to pay me for how much, if I had a slave, I would have made. And so a country has been in debt to France for centuries. People impoverished. You say Haiti is a poor country. Ask yourself why. They came up with this concept of capital and it made us poor because of it. And it makes no sense. But when we talk about reparations, we talk about taxes. I don't want the taxes. First of all, like I said, taxes are theft. I don't want a tax cut. If we are to operate in a cash system, I want cash. Keep it debit. If we are to operate on land, I want land. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really want tangible things, or whatever comfort my people think that reparations is for them, because it's bigger than just Black Americans. And I think that once we stop living in like sometimes you have to widen the lens. Like, you see it for yourself. Why can't you see it for others? And then when you understand that others aren't others, that we're literally the same, then you understand it even more. Because like you're saying, my cousin could have been African American. I came to the Caribbean. I was the last stop on the triangular trade. But they separated us on purpose. They had people who were Congolese with people who were Nigerian. They didn't even know who they were on purpose. So we absolutely are all over the place. And that should not matter when it comes to conversations of reparations. We need to be in unity. And just like full circle, coming back to what you were saying of like, imagine if we were unified, if we weren't having diasporic wars on Twitter every damn day about nothing. And we really were to unite and to rid our xenophobia. And as immigrants, I will say we don't know much about the African American experience. We don't understand that. So we'll say, okay, why are Americans so lazy? Well, no, they're not lazy. They're politically disenfranchised. They're economically disenfranchised. Their education system has rigged them since first grade. But you would know that because where in the system are they teaching us the truth about how we both experience these systems? And so it takes conversations like this. Afeni, you're a champion, a first, second gen, and those who don't have any generations at all, to have conversations of understanding, to bring other experiences into the room, because none of us are Haitian, but we understand Haiti. Like, this is important. Just because that's not the impact of you and your people, you still need to know, you still need to care, and you still need to be involved.
About Black people complaining that talk about Black people then not wanting to unite with their own. It's funny because there is a man in history, he was in the Caribbean, and somebody from the US saw his slaves were very docile. And it was almost if they were working because they wanted to, it was in their will to be a slave, because they were not getting paid. They were not getting nothing out of that. And this man wrote a letter. People wrote for him, like, how can you control your slaves so well? Like, people from here, and he wrote back, well, get the Black slave, the one that's watching the slave, sorry, I was missing the vocabulary in my mind, to tell on them. Then get the slave that's in the house to tell on the slave that's in the plantation. Separate them, spread humors amongst them, and they're going to hate each other. And like that, you will control. If that doesn't bring a light to your mind, there is a Brazilian philosopher for education. His name is Paulo Freire. And he says, when the education, it's not to free the mind of the individual's dream becomes to become the oppressor, to be similar to the oppressor. But that's not something that you wake up in the morning, I want to be like the oppressor. No, it's in your bones. Because your education is on purpose, not pushing critical thinking. So it's in your bones to be like, let's not care for those Negroes outside of US. It's in your bones to look at me and be like, you are Latina, you are not Black. And I understand colorism, and I understand I'm light skinned. I'm very aware that I have some kind of advantage in the color palette. But I should never hear that from a brother or a sister of mine, that I am not part of the family, that I cannot add to the fight. Because that silliness, that is us playing the game of the oppressor, dancing to the music that the oppressor is playing. And I'm with Joella. I don't want your tax break. I don't want blood money, blood diamond in my account. Get your hands out of my account. Give the land back to my people. Give us dignity. How about not killing my children, motherfucker? How about letting them leave? How about having us have our lives and do not be afraid to be assassinated by the police? How about letting children in the favela in Brazil keep on being alive? Because the cops there, they go in shooting. I used to teach and live in the favela. People go in. Do you think like favela, a mostly Black neighborhood, that the cops will pass with the car with a sad face? No, they are shooting you to kill you, and they don't care if you're a gangster or not. No, they just want to kill. So how about stopping that?
I think you touched on a really powerful point around like just echoing the bondage that once you're free. And I think freedom is a state of mind, and it's definitely education, because a free mind coupled with free will is dangerous. Because some people, Harriet Tubman said, I would free more people had they known that they were enslaved. And it's sad and it's embarrassing, but like you also can't victim blame. And it's the same thing in Trinidad. The same times that we were leading the George Floyd protests here in the United States, in Trinidad, they were like, yeah, the police are killing us too. And the police are the same pigment as us. And so when you look at the empire and what we learn for power. You know, like what gives me fulfillment is being on top of somebody, is the totem pole of who I am. And it's like, it's not that. And so if you're taught to view others as competition, why would you view them as community? Why would you work with them when you're my rival, when you're taking from me? And it's like, the world is so bountiful, but it's not, because global warming and how, you know, capitalism. But in theory and in truth, it could be. But because we're operating in so much scarcity, like, I don't know, like, I don't really know when it comes to like viewing people in other countries and having that like understanding of looking at a Black person and explaining to them how you're an actor of white supremacy. You have to be at a whole nother level of understanding to even get to that. Because I tell police officers here all the time, quit your job. Like, help me by helping the system by quitting, because it doesn't matter where you are. We saw the same thing in Liberia when African Americans went to Africa. What did they do? Recreate the same oppressive system in America. And that's why we have Liberian DED, is because of all the wars that were created because of cruel systems. And it's like, what do we want? Like, let's go back to the drawing board of like, what do you want? Not what America tells you to want: a nice car, a family, a job that pays you a certain, like, what do you really want? Because when you go to the Caribbean and you see children running barefoot in the water, that's glee. And they might only have $2 to their name, but they're happy. They don't have to worry about somebody mauling them down in their school because they hate the life that they live. Like, they don't have to worry about some of the things that we have to worry about in America. But you as an individual, get back to like the basics, because once we like find self-fulfillment and we don't have to be selfish, then you could care about an immigrant next door. And then you can care about the country that the immigrant next door is from. Like, there are levels. So I don't want to pretend that you could like, that I came to this, even me, an immigrant, came to this understanding overnight. To understand immigration is tricky because it changes all the time. The legislation and conversations are so confusing, even immigrants don't understand. But you need to, like, you have to be committed to education, because ignorance is how a lot of these things are continued. And fear is how a lot of things, we literally had our work authorization. I got my work authorization, that's my card. So they know I'm an immigrant, you know, and my actions are not going to get me arrested. They're going to get me deported. And if I don't have the fear, what is stopping you, an American citizen, for standing up with people who are less fortunate? Like, really look at your privileges and understand that, damn, I shouldn't even have this as a privilege, because this is a right that everyone should have.
Go ahead. No, seriously, go ahead.
No, the fact that, yeah, like, against me and Joella, what they're going to do is just directly deport us. I mean, I think there's going to be some beating up, some torturing, and then they will deport us, because I would never give credit to white supremacy. I think they will always do what they always did to us. But yeah, and I'm putting like all those years that I could not go see my family, as Joella is putting too. And it's funny, I just lost my mom, and I was so lucky to be able to see her once before she passed away, right? Like, because that's when I could travel. And yeah, I'm putting that on the line too, right? Because like, what are you trying to save? What I always ask those questions. I've been a lot. Sometimes I feel like I need to take a break, but I've been a lot in spaces in Twitter. And I always ask these questions because people, not just Black people, but like a lot of white people actually asking those questions. But what should we do? What are we going to do? We hear you on Twitter. I was like, dude, you should be in the streets, because you're here afraid of rubber bullet and tear gas. Like, that was a time in Brazil. This was my breakfast. It hurts. It does hurt. But like, the pain, the physical pain needs to be smaller than the soul pain, because your soul is broken. And I know it's hurting because it hurts in me too. And I can feel it. So rubber bullets, I take them. if that means that we're going to live, like Joella said, like the children in the Caribbean, the children in Brazil too. Because there was a guy that was interviewed by Humans of New York. He's Brazilian. He couldn't speak proper English. And who am I to say that? I too don't speak proper English, but okay. But he told the guy, like, he told the guy, oh, but I'm afraid I cannot speak. And the guy was like, say whatever you can say. And he said, people in my country, money, no money, always happy. Thank you, Joel. She just said, fuck England and their English. Yes! And fuck Portuguese too. And fuck Spanish too.
It's a big fuck you to all y'all, honestly. Fuck the empires. Fuck all of them. Fuck them all. But thank y'all so much for coming on. Thank y'all for having this conversation with me. I honestly learned a whole lot. And I knew I was going to. That's why I wanted to have y'all on. But, you know, any closing thoughts, anything I want to plug? I'll just, Josana can go first.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for having me here. I got to be with you once more, Afeni, and I'm a fan. And also you, Joella, I'm your newest fan. I feel so honored to be in the presence and community with those brilliant Black women. I am like in awe. I don't need anything anymore. Fuck all your hoes. Quote unquote big smalls. But I just wanted to talk, just to say that there is a play that's being built, and the theme is on immigration, the immigration system in America. It's called Exist, and it's EX, and then the ist will be in parentheses. If you all want to promote, just follow them on Instagram. They will start a Twitter page soon. And just to say that I love you all, and let's fight together. I will be holding y'all's hand in the front lines, and I truly believe we can bring on change. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I said I'm scrambling, I'm going hard. I'm grateful to be here. I'm always just like rejuvenated in conversations like this. It doesn't take away from me. And that's literally because you all have so much to give and so much to share. So thank you for all of this sharing that you've done and how you've invested in the education of me. And I'm grateful to be here. And if you're Black, things that you can do is literally enjoy your life and rest, like rest. Please prioritize rest, because when you learn about all of these, we literally gave you an hour full of things that you're like, oh. And it's heartening. It's honestly disheartening when you hear about all of the oppressions of Black people. But I want us to be steadfast in our perseverance, in our persistence, in our consistency to overcome. Because even though they gave us slavery, we freed ourselves, and then they gave us segregation, then they gave us mass incarceration, and we're freeing ourselves, and it's tiring, and it's going to take a lot of work, but this time let's gut it from the root. And so by doing that, what you're going to have to do is learn and love. You don't rest on your own understanding. I rest on God's understanding, because Lord knows I still don't understand. But I try my hardest to understand as much as I can. And it's also important, though, to be understood. As an undocumented person, I was like, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for hearing my voice. I'm nervous to share how I'm being oppressed. No. I need every undocumented person or immigrant that is listening to be proud of who you are and to be loud in what you want, because you deserve it. Don't let them tell you what you need. You say what you need and you get it. It's not a choice. It's a birthright. You got it.
Well, now y'all know. Now y'all know why I brought these women on, because they're fantastic. But yeah, you know, we're just all fighting our oppression. It is a revolutionary and divine right of all Black people from every country to fight their oppression. It is what our ancestors did, and is what we shall continue to do, because we deserve better. And at the end of the day, without us, bitch, they wouldn't even exist. Okay. Okay. Let's just keep it a stack. The civilization started in Black women's wombs, honey. So we deserve our motherfucking rights. We deserve that at least. Bare minimum. I'm asking for crumbs at this point because y'all not even giving me that right now. So thank you guys so much for coming on. My show will be moving bi-weekly instead of weekly, just because like organizing and doing a podcast is kind of overwhelming and very time consuming, and I want to give you guys good content. I don't want to just throw shit together. So we're gonna be scaling it back a little bit, and there won't all be pre-recorded like this one, but again, my schedule is a little wild this weekend. So thank you all for watching. Please follow Josana. Josana has her @name in her name, I believe, right, Josana? Okay. And then please follow Joella
on Twitter. Oh, that's Joella. O as in octopus, H as in hockey. That's Joella. And on Instagram, Joella 3A's _.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. And, keep starting fires, y'all.